So, what are DC machines? DC machines are electric machines which perform electromechanical energy conversion. It means that DC machines either perform mechanical energy to electrical energy conversion or vice versa, in which it utilizes electrical energy and produces mechanical energy. So there are two types of DC machines, DC generators and DC motors. A DC generator takes mechanical energy as input and produces electrical energy. So DC generators generates DC electricity, and DC motors which takes electrical energy as input and produce mechanical energy as output. So DC motors are the ones that works on DC electricity. DC generators works on the principle of Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, which says if a conductor is under the influence of a changing magnetic field, then an EMF will be induced in the conductor. In DC generators, this conductor is in the form of wire. When we make a turn out of a wire, we call that wire a coil. If we take a wire and make a turn or number of turns out of that coil, that wire, that thing is called as a coil. And when we take two or more coils and connect them, then it is called a winding. So if we take a coil, another coil and connect them together, then this set of coils is known as winding. So in DC generators, this conductor is present in the form of a winding. And to create magnetic field, we have either permanent magnets or electromagnets. Most of the times we use electromagnets. Now to produce this effect of changing magnetic field, we produce a motion in this winding. So we set this winding in motion. Then according to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, an EMF will be induced in the direction governed by Lenz's law. And if we connect an external circuit to the DC generator, a DC current will flow whose direction is given by Fleming's right hand rule. So there are three things that are important in this discussion, that is the winding, the magnets and motion. So as far as there is magnetic field due to the magnets and there is motion in the winding, an EMF will be induced in this winding. Now let us look how DC motor works. So in DC motor, a force is developed on a conductor, which is the Lorentz force. We know that if a current carrying conductor is placed in a magnetic field, then the conductor experiences a force. Okay, so if there is a conductor which carries current and it is placed in a magnetic field, it will experience a force. In DC motor, again this conductor is in the form of a winding. And again, to generate this magnetic field, we have permanent magnets or electromagnets. Now we have to flow current through this winding. Therefore, we connect DC motor to an external DC supply. And now there will be a force on this winding, due to which there will be motion in the winding. So the winding will move. And the direction of this motion is governed by Fleming's left hand rule. Again in this discussion, winding, magnets and motion are the most important part. If there is a winding in which a current flows and it is inside magnetic field created by a magnet, then motion will be produced in the winding. So this is the working principle of DC motor. So we know that there are three most important parts in a DC machine, either a DC generator or a DC motor: the magnets, winding and motion. Most of the times, instead of permanent magnets, we use electromagnets, and to produce electromagnets we set a different set of winding which is called the field winding. And this set of winding is now renamed into armature winding. And the motion is produced in a part of a DC machine which is called the rotor. The function of field winding in DC machine, be it the generator or motor, is to produce the required magnetic field for the operation. And the function of armature winding in generator is different than in motor. In generator, we set motion in the rotor, due to which EMF is induced in the armature winding. Whereas in case of DC motor, we pass current through this armature winding, due to which a motion is produced in the rotor. Okay, now let us move to the construction of DC machines. In DC machines, we have a rotor which is like this. This is the front cross-sectional view of the rotor, and it is free to rotate on its central axis. And this is the inner part of the machine. To protect this inner part of the machine, we should have a protective shield and an outer frame. This part of the machine is now called a stator, and as the name suggests, the stator is stationary. So this is the stationary part, stator, which is the outer part of the DC machine, and this is the inner part of the DC machine, which is rotor, and it is free to rotate on its central axis. This is the front cross-sectional view of the DC machine, but we must understand that these are not circular parts, these are cylindricals. The stator is a hollow cylindrical structure, and the rotor is basically solid cylindrical structure. We also have another part which is mechanically coupled to this solid forced rotor of DC machine, which is called the shaft. So if this DC machine is working as a generator, we set motion in this shaft by applying torque to this shaft, which sets the rotor in motion, and then EMF will be induced in armature winding. And if this DC machine is working as a motor, we pass current through armature winding, which sets this rotor in motion, which in turn sets this shaft in motion, and that mechanical energy can be utilized by mechanical loads. So this is the stator, which is the outer part of the machine. Since it is cylindrical in shape, it has to be provided with a solid base so that it does not move, because when a motor runs, huge vibrations are produced. So we provide a strong base to this stator. Apart from this, we now have field poles attached to the stator. Since stator is the outer frame, we consider this outer periphery to be stator, but now we see that there is a base which is also part of the machine, field poles which are also part of the machine. So we now call this outer periphery of the machine as the stator's frame or yoke. Now this base, the stator frame or yoke, and these field poles are combinedly called the stator. These are the parts of the DC machines which are stationary. So here we are looking at two poles of magnets. These magnets are permanent magnets. This is the north pole and this is the south pole. We can have either permanent magnets like this, or we can have electromagnets. So what we do, we wrap around conductors across these field poles like this. Now when we pass current in the direction as shown by this arrow, we'll get magnetic field. Since the current direction is in this direction, according to right hand curl rule, the magnetic field direction will be like this from top to bottom. So this part of the pole, which is called the pole face, will now behave as north pole, right? So we can see that either we can have permanent magnets, north pole and south pole, or we can have electromagnets. To produce electromagnets on these field poles or the pole cores, we can also call this protruding part as field poles or pole cores. On these pole cores, we wrap wires, electrical wires, which we now call field windings, and we pass DC current in these field windings. if we pass DC current in this direction, then according to right hand thumb rule, an magnetic field will be produced in this direction. So this pole will behave as north pole. Okay, these type of poles are also known as salient type of poles because these are protruding from the inner surface. Similarly, we can have south pole. To create south pole on this pole core, again we wrap a winding across it and pass DC current in this direction. Then according to right hand curl rule, we'll have this as the south pole. This will be the direction of magnetic field and this will act as the south pole. We can have as number. Okay, now these windings are not powered by different source, but these windings are powered by single source. So what actually happen is we take a wire and wrap around this field core first, then we go to this field pole, and then these windings are connected to a DC supply, due to which a current flows through this winding and north and south poles are created, due to which the machine can now work as a generator or as a motor. Now we can have as many number of poles according to our application. So this is the north pole. Look, this is the direction of current. So according to right hand thumb rule, this is the direction of current, and then the direction of this thumb will point to your north pole direction. So this is north pole. We can have another pole here. Now after north, we must create a south pole here. Therefore the windings goes like this and the current through these windings are in this direction. So again, according to right hand thumb rule, the current is in this direction. So this pole face now acts as the south pole. Similarly, we can have a north pole here and a south pole here. We can also have 6 poles, 8 poles, that depends upon our application. Now all these windings are connected and powered by a single DC source. Okay, so we can see all the windings are connected to each other and then powered by a single DC source, which is also known as the DC excitation system. So this is how we create field poles or electromagnets. Now it is very difficult to show these type of windings in DC machines, and because it will crowd our diagram and the analysis will go much difficult. So what we do, instead of showing windings, we show these type of symbols which represents the direction of current. These circular things represents conductors, these wires, and the direction, this cross or the dot represents the direction of current through it. This cross means that the current is going into the screen, and this dot means that current is coming out of the screen. So look at this winding, which is wound like this. So it goes like this, then from the back it comes out from here, then it goes like this, then again from the back it comes out from here, and the direction of current is marked by this arrow. So according to that, the current enters into the screen from this point and comes out of the screen from this point. Therefore we represent the windings by these symbols. This represents current is coming out of the screen, and this represents current is going into the screen. Similarly, we can show field windings in this method. Now it is very convenient and the figure is very neat. So this is the frame or yoke, this is the field pole or pole cores, these are the field windings, and the current direction is shown by this cross or the dot. These are the pole faces, and this arrow marks the direction of magnetic field. Now we know there is not a single magnetic field through this north pole. There are many magnetic fields in these poles. Now this magnetic field lines that are outgoing from north pole will diverge. Half of these field poles will diverge to this south pole and half of the field poles will diverge to this south pole due to the symmetry of the DC machine. Similarly, the fields coming out of these north pole, half of the lines will converge to this south pole and half of the field lines will go to this south pole, somewhat like this. Now the field lines that has originated from north pole and now has entered south pole will go back to north pole, because we know magnetic field lines are always circular. So now what will happen, these field poles will go through this frame or yoke. Remember, this frame or yoke is made up of ferromagnetic materials, so these are very susceptible to magnetic lines. So the field poles now originate from north pole, go to south pole, and through this frame or yoke goes back to the north pole, somewhat like this. So it forms a circular path. Similarly, it will happen in other poles as well. So you can see the field poles coming out of this north pole, going to this south pole and going back to the north pole again. This will happen in other set of poles as well. You can see most of the times the magnetic field lines are going through ferromagnetic material. This frame or core or this field poles all are made up of ferromagnetic materials. But in this part, it has to travel through air gap. Okay. Now what we do, we have to keep the rotor within this space so that the air gap between the field poles and the rotor is minimum. So we take a circular or cylindrical rotor. This is the cylindrical rotor, right, through in which the armature winding are housed. These are the field poles, which is part of the stator, and on this the field windings are there, and this is the rotor on which armature windings will be kept. Now notice, if we enlarge this figure, we'll notice that at this point the air gap is small. The air gap between the field poles and the rotor is small, wherever at this part the air gap between the field poles and the rotor is large, which creates problem because more the air gap, large is the reluctance. Therefore, the magnetic strength or the magnetic flux received by the rotor will be less, which will affect our operation. So we modify these pole faces so that there is an uniform air gap and minimum reluctance provided to these magnetic field poles. So we modify the field poles somewhat like this. So we see that now instead of having flat profile of the field poles, we have somewhat circular type of shape or arc type shape of the field pole face. Now the air gap is uniform everywhere. Again, do remember that for representation purpose only and for analysis purpose only, I am showing this much gap between the field poles and the rotor, whereas in actual machine this air gap is very minimum, in fact very minimum. Now on this rotor we have to put a armature winding for the function of DC machine. Before that, please understand that there are certain structures like this which are called interpoles are also present on the inner periphery of this frame or yoke of the stator. What is the role of interpoles will be taken up in some other discussion at some other point of time. So these are the main field poles which produces the magnetic field which is necessary for the operation of DC machine, and these are the interpoles. They have a very specific purpose which will be discussed in at some other point of time. Now this rotor is actually based on this small tiny part which is called the shaft. This shaft is long cylindrical shape, or it is a solid forging of cylinder made up of steel. On this part, this armature, or we also call this rotor as armature, supports. So this is the shaft on which this rotor now supports. Now we have to place armature winding on the rotor. Therefore what we do, we create slots on the outer periphery of the rotor. Okay, so this was the rotor. This rotor is supported by the shaft, which is a long single solid forging, cylindrical in shape, and to accommodate armature windings we create slots on the outer periphery of this rotor. Now what we do, we take a wire and we wrap around these slots to create armature winding. We take a wire and we go to this slot, then take out that wire from this slot and put it back to this slot again, and take this out from this slot, and it is returned back. Now if we connect it to DC supply, a DC current will flow through this if it is a motor, or if we connect a load to these ends of the wire, an EMF will induce in this wire and current will flow that load if the machine works as a DC generator. So in this way we can create, or we can have armature windings on the rotor. We can have as many number of turns as required in applications. Now it will again be very difficult to show these type of winding over the rotor, and it will make our analysis very difficult because the figure will get crowded. So we represent our armature windings like this. So there are number of armature windings in every slot that is now on the outer periphery of the rotor. These are the armature windings. So there are two set of windings: the field windings, which are on the field posts that create magnetic field, and another set of winding is the armature winding, which is on the rotor. In armature winding, EMF will be induced if it is working as a DC generator, or we pass DC current in this armature winding if it works as a DC machine. Apart from this, we have a commutator, which is again fixed on the or supported by the shaft. The role of the commutator is that in this DC machine, the EMF that is induced in the conductors are basically AC in nature, but we must obtain a DC electricity from this machine. Therefore we have to convert that AC EMF into DC EMF. For that purpose we have commutator section. How that happens will be taken up in some other video, but we have to remember that in the construction part there is this very important element which is known as a commutator. The role of the commutator is to collect AC electricity from the armature windings and then passing on to the external circuit in the form of DC electricity. Okay, and now the current that is collected by commutator in the form of AC will be sent to the external circuit through carbon brushes. Before moving on to what are carbon brushes, let us see what a rotor of DC motor actually looks like in real life. This is the rotor of the DC machine. You can see this is cylindrical in nature. Okay, this is cylindrical in nature, and we know on outer periphery we create slots to have armature winding. So these are the slots. These are the slots on the outer periphery of the rotor, in which we can see armature windings. What are windings? These are connection of number of coils of wires. What are coils? Coils are number of turns of wires. So we can see this is the rotor, which is cylindrical in shape. These are slots, and in these slots these windings are kept. These windings are copper wires which are insulated. Okay, so this is how the rotor armature looks like in a DC motor. Now what we do, as we have already discussed, we put a conductor and pass it through this slot. We take that wire through that slot, and what we can do, instead of putting that wire into this slot, we can take the slot like this, and we can connect external DC supply or external load at this point. Or we can also take this conductor out of this slot and put it back to some other slot, and then take it back from this slot and put this wire in this slot again, and take that slot wire from that slot, and then we can connect these supply or external load at this point. So we can have a wire which runs through all the slots to have a composite armature winding. So this is how the armature winding in real life looks like. Apart from armature, we know we have just seen that there is a commutator. So this is the shaft, which is a long cylindrical. This is the shaft. It is a long cylindrical forging. Okay, on this armature slots are produced. This is the armature stack. These are the slots under which we have put armature windings. After putting armature windings, we put insulation on the windings so that these windings do not come out of these slots when the rotor rotates, because during rotation huge centrifugal forces are applied on this winding. Now we see that these winding coils are now connected to the commutator bars. So these winding coils are now fitted into this armature slots, and then one end of the armature winding is connected to commutator bars. So this commutator bar is also connected on the shaft, and when the shaft rotates, the commutator bar, the armature stack, all rotate together. Okay, so this is how the rotor of DC machine looks like. So what will happen when this will rotate? If it is a generator, if we set armature shaft into motion, it will rotate. EMF will be induced in these windings, and then the current, DC current, will flow to these commutator brush, and then we take that current out of the commutator brush. I would like to beg your pardon. The EMF induced in this winding will be AC in nature. So the current collected by commutator bars will be AC, but when it will be given out to the terminals, it will be converted into DC. How this can be done, we'll see in few moments. So this is the story so far. We have a outer frame or yoke. On those we have field poles. On field poles, field windings are wound, due to which north-south poles are created. We have the pole face in this manner so that the air gap between the rotor and field poles are minimum. We have a rotor which is supported on a shaft. On rotor outer periphery we have slots in which we have armature winding, and apart from this we have a commutator. The role of commutator is that it collects current from the armature winding and then it passes to the outer terminals. Now we put these carbon brush on commutators. The purpose of putting this carbon brush is that when commutator collects AC current from the armature winding, it will be converted to DC at this carbon brush. So this carbon brush acts as the path to outer terminal. So commutator will collect the current from armature in form of AC, and when that goes out of the carbon brush, the current will be a DC in nature. How that works, again we will put in the operation part in some other video. So these are the carbon brushes which presses against the commutator. When current goes to commutator and then it goes to carbon brush, there are chances that a few sparks will occur, due to which these carbon brushes wear out and we have to replace these carbon brush time to time. So these are the all different parts of a DC machine. So there are two set of windings. These, when we connect these wires to carbon brushes, these act as the external terminals. So if it is a DC generator, we can have DC current through these terminals, and if it works as a DC motor, then we can pass DC current to the machine through these terminals. And again, remember, there is another set of winding which is field winding, which is powered by DC current. So field winding are always powered by DC source so as to create the necessary magnetic field, but this armature winding have different role in generator and in motor. In generator, EMF is collected, current is collected from these armature windings, and in motor, current is passed to these armature windings. So the field windings are always on the stator. In DC machines, the field winding are on stator. You can see this field poles are part of the stator. So these field windings are on stator. This is a very important question that is being asked to all the students most of the times in exam as well as in Viva. In DC machines, the stator has the field winding and the armature winding is on the rotor. These are the armature winding, which is definitely on the rotor. Now this is to summarize that this is the cross-section view of DC machine. This is the frame or yoke, outer part of the machine, part of stator. This is the base to damp out the vibrations in the machines. This is the field pole or pole core. On the field pole or pole core, we wrap field winding. Okay, and when we pass current through these field winding, the direction of the current will be shown by this cross and the dot. Cross means current is entering into the screen, dot means current is coming out of the screen. So these are the field windings. We pass current through it. Due to passing of DC current and magnetic effect of electric current, field poles will be created like this according to the direction of current in these field windings. So alternatively, north south poles will be created. The pole face is modified in this shape so as to have uniform air gap between the field poles and the rotor. Mind you, this gap is just for representation and analysis purpose. In actual application, the air gap is much smaller. Apart from main field poles, we have interpoles which have a very specific function which we will discuss later. Apart from and these are the field lines that originate from north poles, go to south poles and traverse back to north pole through the frame or yoke. And while doing so, they also cut rotor. So whenever this rotor rotates, it cuts these magnetic field lines or the magnetic flux. This whole part is known as the rotor and this part is known as the armature core. Rotor or armature are the same thing. On the rotor or armature, the outer periphery, we have slots to accommodate armature windings. These are the armature windings in which EMF is induced in case of DC generator or in which we pass DC current in case of DC motor. Apart from this armature, we have a shaft on which the armature is resting or the shaft supports the armature. This shaft is a long cylindrical tube. In fact, it is solid forged. Apart from this, we have a commutator segment which collects AC current from the windings, armature windings. or passes the DC current from the outside to the armature winding in form of AC. These are carbon brushes which are pressing against the commutators. The role of these brushes is to collect DC current or AC current from the commutator and pass it on to the external circuit in form of DC, or if it is working as a motor, it will take DC current from the supply and it will pass to the commutator segments in form of AC. Then this current will flow through armature windings. Now we must understand that to provide minimum reluctance to these field lines, the stator and rotor are made up of ferromagnetic material. Okay, all of the stator and rotor are part of the magnetic circuit, therefore these are made up of ferromagnetic material. And the ferromagnetic material that is used for production of stator and rotor is a silicon grade steel. A silicon grade steel also helps in reduction of hysteresis losses. Hysteresis loss will occur if the material is magnetically inferior. If it is magnetically superior or good in quality, then hysteresis loss will be low. Therefore, we use a silicon grade steel in stator and rotor production. Now this stator frame or yoke is definitely a hollow cylinder. It is made of cast steel. So it is a single piece of cast steel. It is hollow, inside which these field poles and rotors are housed. Now these field poles or cores, these field poles or pole cores are not a single forced or single piece. These are made of insulated steel laminations. So what we take a steel lamination, rectangular steel lamination, and then take a number of steel lamination together, and then we attach these together. Okay, when we attach these steel laminations together, we insulate them from each other. Then we stack them together, and then this 3D or solid pole core is obtained. So these pole cores are not made of a single piece but are made up of insulated steel lamination. We provide these insulated steel laminations so as to reduce eddy current losses. We know eddy current is produced in conductors. These are circulating currents. These are produced in conductors due to magnetic field, and which opposes the main magnetic field. So what we do, we minimize the cross-sectional area of the field poles. If it is made up of single piece like this, then the area through which eddy current will circulate will be broader, then eddy current loss will be high. Whereas if we compare the thickness of this sheet of steel, it will have a very small path for circulation of eddy current. Therefore, eddy current losses will be less. So what we do, we take a number of pieces of steel laminations, insulate them, and then stack them together. So current will, magnetic field lines will pass through all the pieces stacked together, but circulating current will be confined to the surface of each individual lamination. So we do this to reduce eddy current losses. Now these are the field coils or field winding, which are copper winding, insulated copper winding. They are wound multiple turns to produce magnetic field. Now this is the rotor or armature, which is the rotating part of the machine. We call this rotor armature as well. So this is the entire rotating part, which consists of this armature core, winding, commutator, shaft, and the brushes. This shaft is a solid forging. It is a long cylindrical shaped element which is a single piece. It is a solid forged piece. The shaft looks like this. It is a solid forging. It is very long in length and short in diameter. Now this rotor or armature core this outer part of the rotor is also known as armature core or the rotor core. It is made up of insulated steel laminations. Again, this is not made up of single piece or cast steel. It is made up of steel laminations which are riveted together so as to reduce eddy current loss. Now we know we also have slots on the outer periphery of the armature core to house armature winding. So what we do, we take pieces like this and then rivet them together to make a long cylinder. Then this armature core will be in cylindrical nature. The armature core has large diameter but short axial length. Okay, the shaft, it has long axial length and the diameter is small, whereas the armature core has large diameter and small axial length. And on the outer periphery of the armature core we have armature windings. Okay, the outer slots have armature winding. These are the armature winding. Now these commutators are made up of hard drawn coppers. These commutators are in the shape of wedge like this. So these commutator sections are again not single piece but made up of different sections. Each section is shaped like a wedge. We stack together number of wedge shaped pieces to complete this commutator structure, and each wedge shaped structure is insulated from each other as well as the shaft. So each this small part of the commutator is insulated from each other and it is also insulated from the shaft. The commutator also has a large diameter. It is larger than the shaft but smaller than the armature core. Okay, the axial length is also smaller than the armature core. So we have a shaft, a long cylindrical structure around which an armature core is put. The armature core has short length but large diameter. On the outer periphery of armature core we put armature winding. Then on the other part of the shaft we put commutator which is insulated from the shaft. Armature core is also insulated from the shaft, and this commutator is also made up of wedge shaped pieces. The shaft is a single piece of solid forged steel. Armature core is made up of laminations and commutator is also made up of wedge shaped pieces. Now as shown in the figure, actual figure that I have shown, figure of the DC motor rotor, we have brush gear as well. These brush gear collects current from the commutator and pass to the external circuit, or collects current from external circuit and pass it to the commutator. Right? These brushes are made of carbon and it is always in contact with commutator like this. Okay, and it is also connected to outer terminals. So for the operation of this DC machine, the winding that are put on armature slots, the slots on the armature core, a part of it is connected to the each commutator segment. So there are many commutator segments on this commutator and each segment is connected to a set of winding on the armature core. So what happens if it works as a DC generator? EMF will be induced in the armature winding, which will be AC in nature. Then it will be passed to the commutator. The current that goes to commutator is AC in nature. It will be passed to external circuit through brush, and then that current will be DC in nature. Right? And if it works like a DC motor, then it will collect DC current from the external supply. It will pass to the brush, then it will go to the commutator, and commutator will pass the current to armature winding in form of AC. So the internal working of DC motor is AC in nature, but from outside on the terminals it works as a DC machine. So this is all about the construction of DC machine. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any queries regarding any part of this video, do comment, and thank you.